Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cámara Peruana de Comercio Exterior. Welcome to our lectures. In this case, our English lectures. I hope everybody's fine. I hope everybody had a good weekend, a great weekend, as a matter of fact. Please remember to stay safe and to stay, to only go out in case it's necessary, and take all the necessary precautions in case you go out. Wear your masks and wash your hands, hand sanitizer, and all the necessary precautions needed to be taken to be able to manage the COVID problem. Well, as always, these are classes for English for specific purposes. So some of the topics that we're going to talk about are going to be about business topics in English. We're going to handle terminology, we're going to handle expressions, definitions, and things that have to do with certain topics, but of course in the English language. Every now and then we're going to have English classes per se, where we're going to talk about um, vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. But for the time being, like I said, it's going to be specific business topics in the English language. Okay, so let's begin. The topic of today is human resources. Okay, as you all know, um, nowadays sometimes they're called human capital, because companies start to see that their employees are assets, more than just people who do things in their companies. They actually are an important part of the company, and they need to be taken care of just like any other asset. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. Again, just to let you know and refresh your memory, my name is Carlos Martinez. I'm an English instructor, and I'm also a speaking coach. I'm a former team leader at the Pacifico University, and currently I work as an EFL teacher at Mate Purísimo School here in Miraflores, Lima. Remember that I can follow your questions or comments via Zoom. Good morning, and also via Facebook. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask them through the Facebook comments, and I will answer them as quickly as possible. Also, I remember that sometimes the comments are delayed a little bit, but I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. Okay, so let's begin. Human resources. Okay, as you can see in the image, these are grains, and one makes the other move. If I move this one, this will move this. It will move this grain over here, and this, and eventually all this machinery or all this chain of well, not supply chain, but this work chain will function properly. Okay, but as you can see, each grain, it's represented by a person, either a man or a woman, where each person does a certain job, and this will help the other person do their job, and so on and so forth. Okay, because human resources is about that. It's about the responsibility and the importance of humans in how a company might function. So it's important for everybody to be the perfect fit to help the other also work. Together as a team, we accomplish more things. Okay, so one thing we're going to talk about related to human resources is going to be staffing and recruitment. Then we're also going to talk about motivation that comes into play when we talk about human resources. The appraisal or the evaluation of the people of each of the employees or the people who work at a certain company. And we're also going to talk about the training and the development. And finally, worker management relations, okay, how the employees relate to to their employers. Okay, so basically these are 5 things that we're going to mention during this lecture. Staffing and recruitment. When we talk about staffing and recruitment, we talk about determining staffing needs. So, for example, how many people we're going to need for a certain area. If, for example, do we need more people or can we work with less people? Um, how many people are necessary for an area to work properly? It's always there are expressions that are called overstaffed and understaffed. If we are overstaffed, that means that we have too many people in a certain area and we're going to need to let some people go, fire them maybe. And when we are understaffed, that means that few people are doing the job of a lot, and we need more people to be able to balance the the equation, objectives, responsibility with the amount of people who accomplish it. Okay, so it's important to determine the staffing needs. Remember, overstaffed, understaffed. The selection process, which involves advertising, where and how and when we're going to advertise our needs. The CVs, also called resumes sometimes. The interviews, when after our CVs are sent out, how we're going to interview the people who attend to our call, and also monitoring the rate of staff turnover and conducting exit interviews to see why people leave. I remember once at a job that I used to work that I left for professional reasons. When I did, they gave me a survey asking me why I was leaving. If I had any problems, what suggestions would I give them? So it was the first time that this type of survey had been given to me, and I found it interesting because even though I was happy where I was working, there were some minor details that I would have liked to be done better, and I suggested them to them, and then when we had our final interview, they appreciated the information, the feedback, and we went our separate ways. Um, so yeah, these exit interviews are a common thing in many companies now. Motivation. Also, human resources is in charge of motivating like I said, they are in charge of the human element of a company. So people need to be motivated many times, and this can be done in many ways, like maybe compensation and benefits, like what refers to salary, or increments in the salary, um, incentives, like maybe not economical incentives, but maybe with, for example, again at this place that I used to work, we had discounts at theaters, and we had discounts when acquiring certain objects, and things like that. And then we had motivation through job satisfaction. Okay, so if I felt satisfied with what I was doing and how I was doing it, of course I will feel motivated, and these things helped. If I felt happy where I was, I will produce. Again, another place where I used to work, there was they each week had a different fruit to it. So every morning when I would arrive to work, there would be a little plastic container with some fruit, some fresh fruit, for all the employees to eat. Um, so you felt motivated. You will be expecting uh, anxiously every morning to receive your little basket of fruit. So that motivates people to go to work. And of course, this was done by the human resource department. Appraisal or evaluation, yeah, like the value. The word evaluation has to do with value also. Aims to identify talent. Okay, I mean, if we have 10 workers and we, after evaluating, and we recognize that some of them are outstanding, then we can motivate them to continue to be outstanding, or maybe use them as examples for the others too, so they can become outstanding as well. So, but they need to identify, they need to be identified. It's important. It's important for us to recognize who, because it doesn't. This is not a discrimination, but some people produce better than others. It's important to recognize this talent and value it and give it give them the recognition that they need and that they have, okay, that they deserve. And this is, like I said before, done by the human resource department. Okay, so again, like I said, if there are any questions, you can make your questions over Facebook chat or through the Zoom chat area. Okay. Next, training and development. Again, we're going to talk about initial orientation. You know, when you first enter a job and everything that needs to be done, because even though if you enter to work at a company, that means that you are human resources um, has chosen you to be qualified to enter to the company because you meet our necessities and you meet the standards of the company, but still you are new. So you need to learn the process. You need to learn how things are done. You need to learn what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And so this process is done during the initial orientation. You know, you are taught, you go through workshops, um, you are trained to be able to do the work that you know how to do, but the way that we do it. I mean, by we, I mean the company. Um, then we have on-the-job training and off-the-job training, which we're going to mention a little bit as we go through. And finally, we have worker-manager relationships. Okay, this is very important because even though of course there's a certain type of seniority, still the relationships must be optimal and must be good to, I mean, for a worker or employee to work to do its best, right? So to conduct negotiations with unions, for example, um, if there is a union, relationships between the workers and the management department should be straightforward and should be good, because sometimes when these things don't work, then we have strikes and we don't, and nobody wants that. To ensure agreements are interpreted and implemented correctly. For example, if whatever, when you start a job, okay, these are your rights and these are your obligations. So just as you as an employee need to meet the obligations that you signed in your contract, the company needs to meet the rights that you were offered or promised. Things cannot change along the way. Things cannot be done differently. Okay, if something is written in the paper and negotiated before you entered work, they should be met and accomplished, right? So it's important to ensure that everything is done as it was promised and proposed. Deal with individual problems and issues. Yes, I mean, sometimes even though we might the management department or the human resources department might do everything right, you never know when some things might occur. So it's important to deal with these problems individually and try to solve them as soon as possible. Um, Monitor health and safety issues, of course. Again, the human resource department is going to take care of you. If you feel happy, if you for some reason feel sick, then they're going to give you days off to go to the doctor, or if there's a doctor on site, they're going to send you there. Um, and they're going to make sure that if you work in an area where you need some type of equipment or some type of uniform, they need to make sure that you have the implements that you need: helmet, glasses, some kind of suits, etc. They are the ones responsible for you having all these things. Even though the employee must know, okay, I'm going to work in a toxic department, I need a mask. Human resource department must give you the mask, must make sure that you use the mask. And if you forget, they should remind you that you need to wear a mask, for example. Monitor arrangements for joint consultation. Yes, this is when we're, as the name says, we consult um, together with other entities or companies. Okay, And basically, these are the 5 things that we mentioned before. Like I said, in case there's any questions, remember to ask them through Facebook chat. I'll be able to help you. Okay. So are there any questions? No? Okay. So just to finish off with this, like I said, joint consultation is when it's a system of communication between the management department and the representatives of the employees, that way together you can find solutions, right? Very good. So let's go on to the next slide. Appraisal or evaluation, okay? We need to value our employees. We need to know who they are, what they do, how they are doing it, and of course, value their effort and their work. The aims of the appraisal evaluation responsibility of the human resource department is to identify talent and help to align individual goals with the company goals. Okay, so everybody is working together to meet the same goal, to meet the same objective. Okay, so for example, if we see that some of our employees are not doing what they're supposed to do, or doing things that maybe are not as proper or won't help to reach this goal, then we need to align them. We need to tell them, hey, maybe you can change some things and do it differently. That way we can all work together. Of course, this is not an infinite process, because human resources department still will try its best to align employees, but if they cannot be aligned or don't desire to align themselves accordingly, then well, the contract can be terminated. Get direct suggestions for improving work procedures. Again, this has to do with the first part, right? I mean, we need to improve our efficiency and how well we do things. Again, to do it quicker, faster, and in a cheaper manner. To provide an input into decisions about promotion. So if I evaluate you, then that way, okay. For example, if I tell you that every year there are promotions amongst the workers, depending on, I don't know, let's say your monthly evaluations, if you are always on time, the way you're dressed, if you follow the dress code, etc., etc. Okay, if you meet all these things, then you will be eligible to a promotion, and these things can only be done through evaluation. Okay, so this gives you information for you to evaluate who needs to be promoted, who needs to get a raise in salary, etc. Next, the stages in performance appraisal. The first one is to establish performance standards. Okay, so how am I going to evaluate you if I don't give you a set of standards? Okay, this is what I'm going to evaluate. This is what I'm going to look for. This is what I'm going to ask for you to do. So I need to tell you my standards. Okay, evaluate performance of an annually. Like I said, once I have given you my standards, then I am in the ability of evaluating you. Okay. Because I can create the rules along the way. I need to set the rules right from the beginning. Discuss results with each employee, giving corrective feedback and asking for suggestions. This is very, very important, because what is the purpose of me evaluating you and recognizing that maybe there are things that you need to correct, but I don't tell you what problems or what things could be corrected, okay? So this is where corrective feedback appears. Sometimes people get afraid of feedbacks because they think, oh, they're going to tell me everything that I did wrong. That's why sometimes they're called feedbacks. But no, correct feedbacks are given so that you can correct what you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to tell you everything you did right. I'm going to praise you for everything you did right, but I'm also going to let you know what things you can improve, how you can do things better. It's not going to be a moment for me. Um, it's not going to be a moment for me to give me a second here. Sorry. It's not going to be a moment for me to just shoot at you with everything you did wrong. No, it's a moment for me to let you know, hey, this was fine, but maybe you can try this, or what you did was great, but what if you looked at it this way? So give you suggestions on how to improve, how to be better, because it's the purpose. That is the purpose of these observations and evaluations, how to make my employees better. Because again, they are an asset to the company. So if an employee works better, they will produce more and the company will gain profits. Use the results to make decisions about promotions, compensation, additional training, job transfer, etc. Again, I mean, the only way to recognize how you're doing and what you're doing is by evaluating. Okay, by promotions. Okay, so you can grow in the company. You can ascend. In the hierarchy of the company. Compensation, maybe, okay, I mean, I've seen you've done so many things more than you should have. Here's something to compensate for your effort. Okay, or maybe if you see that somebody, okay, you have a certain skill but you can improve. Okay, maybe you're good at in a certain area, but you don't have all the training that you need. Maybe I can pay for that training. Maybe the company will invest in its employees. And transfer, for example, if I see that you are not, I mean, you started in this area of the company and you started out fine, but you can do better maybe in another area. I don't want to let you go, but I want to keep you in the company, but you will perform better in a certain area. So I'll just transfer you. So the job transfer is an option the human resource has when they don't want to let people go, but they recognize that they could do better in another area. Okay, so this is what we were going to mention about the appraisal or evaluation. Next, training and development. When we talk about training and development, we have to talk about first the initial orientation. This is always for new employees, like I said. With in any job, you always go through an orientation that will let you know or will teach you how things are done in the company. Like I said, if you are hired by a company to work with them, that means that you meet the standards and the requirements to be able to work them. You have the skills, but now I need to train you on how these skills are done with us. Every company has a certain identity based on their goals, based on their needs, their mission, and their vision, and we need to align. Okay, everybody knows how to use a computer, but every company has different software, has different processes, has different ways of using the computers and the programs that they have. So we need to be trained. Everybody knows how to send an email, how to use our certain platforms, but with every new job that I have had, I've had to go through the IT training, how to use the platform, how to use the software, how to use the email, how to access certain, how to upload grades. Okay, so every you need to be trained to do these things. You might have all the knowledge about computers, but every company does things differently. The same in regards of documentation. For example, I know how to make a letter of let's say a formal letter, but maybe there is a way, or I need to know who I need to write to, where to send it, if there are due dates, and stuff like that, and everything. So people need to be trained. You can't just be sent in and they cannot tell you, okay, do your job. No, they need to tell you what to do and how to do it. Okay, and this is where training, the initial orientation comes in. Okay, this is where initial orientation comes in. Okay, you have the ability, but now we need to apply that ability to what the company needs. Next, on-the-job training. Okay, when we talk about on-the-job training, we talk about, for example, apprenticeship programs. If you know what an apprentice is, it's somebody that's learning. Okay, so these are programs for people who have maybe have the ability but have little experience. So we'll put them in an apprenticeship program, okay, so they can learn from others, learn from people with experience. Coaching and mentoring, again, similar, but this is not always related to people with experience. You can have all the experience in the world, but maybe you need some mentoring from somebody who knows a little bit more, okay? So you will go through coaching and mentoring programs. And understudy or assistant positions, again, understudy are for people who have no experience and they are going to learn from a person who has all the experience of a lot of experience. Difference in apprenticeship, because in an apprenticeship you have experience but you have little experience. With understudies or assistant positions, you have no experience, you're there to learn, okay? And job rotation is, again, like you go from one position to the other, from one department to the other, and you learn. I remember that in my first job, I worked at a fast food company that sells nuggets. And when I first started, I was in a certain area that I only prepared nuggets and fries. And then I rotated to the hamburger section and learned how to make hamburgers and things related to buns and sandwiches. And then when I was done with that, I was rotated to the cashier. So I learned how to use the cashier and work with people. And after that, I was rotated to the lobby position, where I had to learn how to maintain the lobby area clean. And so I rotated through many areas of the company, and in each part, I learned something new. Okay, so that is job rotation sometimes. And then we have off-the-job training. Off-the-job training is, as you can see in the first one, we're working. We are learning while we work. Okay, I learned things when I was with this place where I was telling you. I was learning how to work at the cashier, but not sitting in a classroom and looking at a board. I was in front of the cashier learning how to use the cashier. Okay, so that's what these are called, on-the-job training. I'm learning while I am working. Off-the-job training, these are things that are done while you're not working, like, for example, classroom instructions, computer-based training like e-learning, management training through longer sponsored courses such as an MBA. I need to go to university, okay, to get these, okay? So these things are done while I am not working, okay? These activities are done while I am off my job, okay? So these are 3 steps of training and development, like I mentioned before. The first one is the initial orientation. The second one is on-the-job training. And lastly, we have off-the-job training. Now, human resources management. Um, Very quickly, I'm going to mention some things. Up to a few decades ago, the term human resources did not exist. Okay, this was done by what was called the personnel department. Okay, it was just basically a department that would be in charge of hiring the personnel. Okay, and paying the personnel. That was basically the responsibility. Nowadays, this has totally changed. Now, the human resource department, like I said, companies have recognized that the employees are an asset, just like, for example, a machine that the company needs to be able to fabricate its products, just like the raw material that you need to create the product. Okay, human people, staff members and employees are a strategic part of the company. Without them, you won't be able to work. So um, they are important assets of a company. Okay, so the way the company focuses on its employees has totally changed. Now it's not just a manner of hiring you and paying you, but also keeping you happy, keeping you healthy, motivating you, preparing you, instructing you, evaluating you, and giving you suggestions. You know, like I said, motivating and motivating and motivating. Um, Now, how would you define human resources department? The human resource department is, like it's written here, the human resource management is a term used to describe formal systems devised for the management of people within an organization. The responsibilities of a human resource manager fall into 3 major areas: staffing, employee compensation, and benefits, and defining and designing work, like I mentioned before. Essentially, the purpose of human resource management is to maximize the productivity of an organization. You see, now it's not only hiring people and paying them, but it's to maximize the productivity, how to get the best out of the employees, how to get the best out of the people who are in a company, by optimizing the effectiveness of its employees. This mandate is unlikely to change in any fundamental way, despite the ever-increasing pace of change in the business world. This is a quote from Edward Gubman, who said the basic mission of human resources will always be to acquire, develop, and retain talent. Important, retain talent, okay? Because if we recognize that we have a talented employee, we need to keep them with us, because if he leaves, he's going to take all his talent and his knowledge to another company. Align the workforce with the business and be an excellent contributor to the business. Those three challenges will never ever change, okay? So basic mission of human resource department will be to acquire, develop, and retain talent, okay? Align the workforce to the business and be an excellent contributor to the business. These three things are important in any human resource department or human resource management area. Okay, like I said, it's not only hiring the people, but it's also keeping them, maintaining them, training them, making them feel good, and that way they will give their best. A happy employee is a totally productive person. Determining staff needs, okay? HR staffing, more manpower planning issues to consider when finding qualified candidates, okay? Now, we need to decide the choice between internal recruitment. Are we going to hire from within the people that we have, or we're going to hire people? Okay, each option has its benefits, like it says here. If you, for example, if I'm looking for a manager and I'm going to choose amongst my employees, then I'm going to motivate them. I'm going to, hey, if you do a good job, you can be the manager. Okay, and of course, it's cheaper because I don't need to train you. You know what to do. Okay, so you just have a higher position and continue doing your job. Whereas when I hire externally, it's a little bit more expensive because you have to train them, but you have fresh ideas, you have new ideas, you have people with other experiences that could add. Okay. Next, the legal issues such as equal opportunities, no discrimination on the grounds of gender, race. Okay, so these are other things that you need to be taking into care of. Okay, you need to avoid problems by maybe, for example, discriminating amongst men and women, or discriminating among race, or discriminating amongst religion. You can never do that. Okay, so you need to make sure that you avoid these things. First of all, because it's the right thing to do. You shouldn't discriminate ever for whatever reason. And second, because if you do, you're gonna have problems. Okay, so just morally, it's the right thing to do, and also it's legally, it's the wrong thing to do. So you need to take into account these things. And finally, finding the right balance between permanent full-time employees who provide continuity of the knowledge and company culture, as well as stability for families in the local community, and other employees hired on a more flexible balance. Okay, so again, it's the balance between permanent full-time employees and part-time employees. Okay, the permanent ones will be the ones who will be the base of your company, who will sustain it, and the employees who are hired on a flexible basis, well, they will come and go depending on the needs of the company. Now, when we talk about flexible staffing options, there are three things that we're going to mention. We have part-time, we have temporary contracts, and we have freelancers. When we talk about part-time, that means that they are part-time but with permanent contracts. For example, there was a place that I used to work at that I had I worked like for 10 years. Okay, teaching English. It's a place called Idiomas where I worked for 10 years there, and I had contracts. But I was part-time. I only worked a certain amount of hours, but I worked there for like 10 years. Okay. When you talk about job sharing, that means that, for example, maybe you can do the same, you can share the same responsibility with another person. So half of the day you do this, and another half another person will do it. Okay, it's like, for example, when the people who take care of security, there's the night shift and the day shift. They do the same job, but in the morning is done by one person, and in the evening is done by another. Okay, and then we have temporary contracts leased from an outside agency. For example, when we hire, well, it says here leased from another outside agency. It's like outsourcing that we mentioned before, right? Another company sends these people to do these services. secretaries, heading staffs, who's working through college. They are done just for a certain time. Um, they can be recognized temp. They temp and are temps. Okay, so when you temp, that means that you're working in temporarily, and when you are a temp, that means that you are a temporary hired personnel. Okay, so they can be verbs and nouns. Then we have freelancers, who are also sometimes called consultants. They are brought in for individual things, and they replace things that used to be done by permanent workers, but that were done in house. Okay, that means that I'll have somebody to do a certain activity, but only that. If he wasn't needed, then he will just wait until he was needed. So that was changed with freelancers. Now we'll just hire the person for a specific project, and when it's done, then it's done. Next, okay, now comes a part of recruitment and selection. Recruitment and selection can be divided in 7 steps. Okay, we have to identify job requirements first. What do we need? Okay, what type of worker do we need? What position do we need to fill? Then we need to choose the source of candidates, promotions from within, referrals from employees. Okay, so now where are we going to get these people? Okay, are we going to get them from our own workers? Are we going to ask for our workers to refer other people? Are we going to collocate ads on internet, on the newspaper? Are we going to go through agencies? Are we going to look for headhunters to look for this position? We need to choose how we're going to get the people. Okay, it's important the way that we're going to get the people. Next, review. Once we have decided the way that we're going to get the people, of course, we're going to review applications and CVs or resumes, okay, that they're sometimes called. And this is the initial screening. This is called the long listing. Okay, now I get everybody. I get a lot. I mean, this is the first call. Okay, I get all the CVs or resumes after posting our ad or soliciting for people for this position. Um, then we interview. We interview all the people who are on the long list to come out with what's called a short list. Okay. But before we get to a short list, we need to go through another step, which is to evaluate. Sometimes we go through the psychology department. Sometimes we need to check your papers, your background, the stuff like that. Okay. And after all these things, after the interview and after we evaluate, we 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 go through what it's called the shortlist. Okay, a shortlist is of the initial long list, which maybe were 20. We end up with a shortlist of 3, and these are the strongest candidates. And we have final interviews. Normally, the final interviews are with the head of the human resources department, so maybe coordination, or maybe, like, for example, when I started working at my school, I was interviewed by the head of the academic department, the director, and the head of the human resource department. Okay, and they made the final decision. And of course, at the end, we select the candidate, negotiate the package. When we talk about negotiation, okay, I choose you. Now I'm going to tell you what I offer. Okay, I'm going to tell you about your salary, about your benefits, about what I expect from you, etc., etc. And the candidate will decide, or will sometimes negotiate. Maybe they negotiate salary. I want a little bit more, and the company and the candidate will decide if they would like to initiate a working relationship. So these are the 7 steps that companies go through in when they recruit and they select new employees. 7. Avoiding selection mistakes. Okay, the selection process can be complex and mistakes can be expensive. For example, in the high level, sometimes we need to relocate people with their families, and they need to collocate them in houses or apartments. And if you relocate someone and he or she is the wrong person, then you will lose some money. So the company needs the best person, both in skills and also with the culture. Okay, you might have the best skills ever, but if you don't fit with the mission and vision of a company, then you are going to be paying money for no reason. Okay, so both things, they need to align. Okay, you need to have the skills, but you also need to be aligned with what the company wants or needs from you. So to avoid making mistakes, sometimes there are three things that we can do. We have assessment centers where groups of people do role plays, virtual tests. This is normally for people who don't have a track or too much experience. Then we can also check the candidate's background. You know, I mean, all the information that he gives us, we can check it and verify that it's true, and make sure that everything is accordingly. And finally, a trial or probatory period. This normally happens here in Peru, where people, your contracts are monthly, then every 3 months, and then every 6 months, and then a year, and then permanent. Okay, so the company will make sure or that you are the right person for the job. Okay, so after the first month, if everything is fine, then you will get a 3 month contract. After 3 months, everything is fine, then you will get a 6 month contract. Okay, that way the company makes sure that that they don't, because here in Peru we have many benefits and things that you have to pay, and when an employee leaves the company, so the enterprise or business is to make sure that it has not made a mistake. Okay, next. Then we have the compensations and benefits. When we talk about this, the basic compensation is your salary. Okay, this is salaries refer to white collar staff, and wage to blue collar staff, and also used for payments on who work sometimes for an hourly rate, or what, for example, for what as a package. Okay, you will get paid by the hour, or you will get paid once you do this. Okay. Now to define, white collar staff is basically, like it says in the definition here, white collar staff is a worker who belongs to a class of employee known as who normally earn the higher salaries. They're highly skilled, but they don't perform any manual labor. They're normally office workers. Okay, white collar workers historically have been the shirt and tie set, defined by office jobs and management, and not getting their hands dirty. Whereas blue collar staffs are the people who the opposite, right? Who are in the field, who are getting their hands dirty. Okay, they perform a lot of manual labor. Um, Normally, a blue collar work can involve skilled or unskilled labor, whereas white collar staff is normally skilled. I mean, they are highly skilled in a certain aspect of the job. Okay, very good. Next, additional finance incentives. Okay, these are for the compensation. It has to do with bonuses, commissions. It depends on what you do. Profit sharing, like this happens in Peru, for example. Companies share their profits with their employees. Stock options, for example. If you are a good employee, maybe you have the option of buying stock of the company um, uh, at a different price than what everybody else does. And of course, pay raise. Okay, for increase. For example, if you enter a company with certain qualification, okay, and the company says, okay, for because of all the qualifications that you have, this is your base salary. But if during the year or for a few years that you've been working on the company, you get a new degree, you get more experience in workshops, or you take courses, then your qualifications have increased. So the normal thing will be the company to evaluate the new qualifications and the new skills acquired and see if you are eligible for an increase in pay. Okay, this is important also. And finally, employees can also receive a whole range of other benefits, such as sick leave, holiday pay, retirement plans, health insurance, childcare, elder care. Okay, things that like they are not common, they are not like standardized for everyone. These are benefits that depend on the companies. Some companies give you sick leave, some don't give you sick leave. Some, for example, if you're sick, you'll still get that day paid. If you're sick, in other companies, you don't get your day paid. The pay goes to your substitute. So all these things are to be managed with the company. Okay, so these are compensation and benefits that the human resource department takes care of, and this is how they benefit their employees. Okay. Now, to finish almost, here are some words that I would like to, some vocabulary that is commonly used in the human resource department, okay? For example, affirmative, which means agreement, okay? Ambitious is to having a strong desire for success of achievement. Anti-discrimination legislation, like I said before, it had to do with avoiding discrimination due to sex, race, or religion. Um, Appraisal, it's like I mentioned before, it's an evaluation of the worker to see. It's often carried on an annual basis, and of course, after you have been appraised, okay, how much are you worth? Okay, if you are an important asset, that you're going to get benefits, and the company will invest in you. Assertive is having a positive and insistent approach to interpersonal relationships. Okay, that's to be assertive, that you want to you're positive and you're insistent in doing things. Assessment is the process of judging the worth or value of something or somebody. Benefits, it's an allowance or an economic benefit or economically valued benefit to which a person is entitled. Okay, blue collar relating to manual industrial workers. Okay, the opposite is white collar, like I mentioned before. Okay, so here are some words that are commonly used in the human department area. Then we have a bonus. What is a bonus? It's something given or paid above of what is expected. Okay, your salary is 1,000, but you get a bonus of 200 if you do certain task. So that's above of what you normally would earn. Brainstorming, again, it's like intensive and spontaneous discussion process to generate ideas. Okay, brainstorm. Give me all your ideas. Tell what you have about a certain topic. Okay, so we can find solutions, or we can design strategies or plans. Buzzword. Okay, the buzzword is a currently fashionable word typically used within a particular group, which has popularity for a limited time. Okay, again, it's a word or expression that is popular for a limited amount of time. Collective bargaining, it's a negotiation between unions and employers, like I mentioned before. Compensation is a payment made as a reparation to something. Okay, for example, injury, if you were fired for no reason, or they had to let you go for a certain reason, then you should be compensated. Compromise is to settle a dispute, to make a concession. Okay, so I accept your terms. Compulsory means obligatory. That means you have to do it. It's not an option. C2 means to admit, to agree that something is true or correct. Core jobs. The core jobs are the essential tasks that make up the fundamental parts of an enterprise. That's a core job. Okay, input, that's the central or main job of an enterprise. CV or curriculum vitae, it's an outline an outline of a person's education and professional history, and sometimes it is also called a resume. Okay, so we have CV or resume, it's the same thing. Sometimes students get confused when in Spanish we say resumen, and they think this is what it means. No, a resume is your CV. It's another word for CV. Okay, then we have some final expressions. Golden handshake, it's a compensation package for an executive leaving a company. When an executive leaves a company, a CEO, CFO, COO, they get a golden handshake. It's a package compensating their time with the company and everything that they brought with them. A golden hello is a large sum of money offered to an executive to join the company. So this is the opposite, right? So, for example, the CFO leaves and he gets a golden handshake, and the new CFO will get a golden hello. Okay, so these are incentives for people who arrive and people who could leave. Hard-headed, that means you don't want to change your mind. Okay, tough, realistic, or shrewd, that means that I mean, and sometimes it can be negative. Okay, when you're hard-headed, but it can also be a good trait depending on the type of business that you're at. Okay. Harassment. Harassment is not good. It's a persistent, annoying, or insulting behavior. Okay, this is definitely not okay. Harassment is when you constantly bother somebody. Okay, and it can be in a different way. We have sexual harassment, racial harassment. Okay, you're offensive and you constantly do it. Okay, and you should never do that. Okay, headhunter is a person who looks for talent. Okay, He specifically goes around and looks for the best person for specific positions, okay? And they offer them to companies. Human resources, preferred alternative term for personnel in a company. Incentive is a payment made for people to, once they do something or for them to do something better. Industrial relations is relations between management and the workers' representatives, like I mentioned before, the unions or their representatives. And knowledge management is the management of organizational processes that combines the control and implementation of data, the information processing capacity of the IT, and the creative and innovative capacity of human beings. So this is a combination of everything, right? The IT department, the people, and the management of organizational processes. So I hope these words have could be of help for your everyday human resources use or needs. Like I said, these lectures are more than English lessons. They are English for specific purposes. So the purpose is to maybe review things that you already know, but in the English language, with terminology or expressions or information that might be helpful for you. On Wednesday, then in the morning, our class will be about information and communication technology. If you're interested, I hope to see you there on Wednesday morning. Okay. Thank you again for always attending these lectures from Pamex, and we hope to see you again on our next class and all the classes that are giving during the whole day. Okay, so stay tuned for the next topic and the next class that is following this one. Thank you again, and thank you for your questions in Facebook and your questions here in Zoom. Here's my information, my email, my WhatsApp in case you want to ask any follow-up questions, and my LinkedIn account, CJM Flores 27. Okay, so in case you have any questions or doubts, don't hesitate in asking me about the topic, and I will gladly answer your question and try to clarify your doubts. So I hope you have a great Monday. Have a great beginning of the week. Again, stay safe. Don't go out in case it's absolutely necessary. And if you do, please take all the necessary precautions to stay healthy and keep your loved ones healthy as well. Okay. So God bless and have a great Monday. See you on Wednesday.